Hello everyone, for today's video we are going to show you the top 5 most expensive Titanic objects that survived and sold. Raise your hand if you're a fan of the famous movie Titanic. The 1997 film is based on the events of the ill-fated ship that sank in 1912 after leaving Southampton for New York. It paints a real picture of the tragedy of the ship's voyage, but the objects that survived the wreckage actually tell the real story of life on board the Titanic. All these decades later, these possessions are very valuable and sought after collector's items. These are the most expensive pieces of Titanic memorabilia ever sold at auction. Before we get started, please like and hit the subscribe button. Number 5. Pocket watch, €130,000. The pocket watch belonged to a steward on the ship named Edmund Stone. He was a first-class steward, and he was the owner of the master keys to the first-class cabin. The watch stopped ticking at 2:16, which was most likely the exact moment that Edmund Stone landed in the ice-cold water of the Atlantic Ocean. When it was sold in 2008, it set the record as the most expensive Titanic object, being sold for €130,000, but that record has since been broken. Number 4. Fur coat, €210,000. The beautiful full-length beaver fur coat belonged to first-class stewardess Mabel Bennett. She was only wearing a nightdress when the boat started to sink, and was given the coat to protect her from the cold when she was waiting in the lifeboat to be saved. The coat was sold earlier this year at auction for €210,000, which was twice the estimated price. It was the only fully intact piece of clothing that survived from the Titanic that was put up for auction. Number 3. Ship plan, €308,000. The plan of the ship was drawn by the Naval Architects Department at White Star Line. It is one of the most important pieces of Titanic memorabilia because it was used to investigate the sinking of the ship afterwards. Witnesses used it to identity points on the ship and notes of where the ship hit the iceberg can seen written on the map. The technical drawing is 9.2 meters long and sold for about €308,000 at auction. Number 2. Wallace Hartley's violin, €1.50 million. In the movie of Titanic, when the ship is starting to sink, the violin player begins to play and his band joins in. This sounds like an over-romanticized Hollywood scenario, but in fact, this is based on a true event. Wallace Hartley began to play near a Migottavy at the critical last moments. His violin survived, however it is no longer playable. The piece was sold for €1.5 million at auction. Number 1. Collection of diamond bracelets, €1.70 million. Do you remember the beautiful necklace Rose wore on the ship in the movie, which was recovered many years later? In the real shipwreck, a lot of jewelry was actually found by the expedition team. And this makes sense, since many rich and famous people were aboard the ship. A collection of diamond bracelets recovered from the Titanic was put up for auction and sold for the enormous amount of €1.7 million. The most stunning piece was a diamond bracelet engraved with the name Amy. It is already more than 100 years ago since the tragedy occurred, but the memories live on forever in the objects that survived.